Ciao amici, I'm Maestro Leo Spizzirri, and today I'm going to give you all of my tips and tricks to make traditional Neapolitan pizza at home. Now, for all of you purists out there and all the pizza Illuminati that are going to be coming at me saying, you cannot make Neapolitan pizza with one of these machines, and you cannot make Neapolitan pizza with that oven. Absolutely, you're right. And guess what? I'm an ambassador for the Associazione Verace Pizza Napolitana. This is, for all intents and purposes, the pizza mafia from Napoli, the guys who control all the specs of making traditional Neapolitan pizza. Now, if you are one of those pizza purists and you want to learn exactly how to do it, you can go online and search for what's called the Disciplinaria. This is the rule book that's given for free for all the Neapolitan pizzerias in the world. So you can go there, get all the information, the dough recipes is part of it, all the process of making that pizza is part of it. But today, for the rest of you, I'm going to take that knowledge of the Disciplinaria and I'm going to teach you how to tweak it so that you can make really amazing Neapolitan pizza at home. Before we start, there's a couple things. My new book, Pizza Love, has an amazing process in it to make Neapolitan pizza at home. It's an amazing book. You can find it wherever you go out and buy all your cookbooks. Look for the resource and look for Pizza Love by Maestro Leo Spizzirri. The basic ingredients are simple: flour, water, salt, and yeast. We don't need anything else. Traditionally, we would put all the water into the bowl and start with the salt. And that's what we're going to do today. So this here is 228 grams. This recipe that I'm giving you will make 2 dough balls. If you want more dough balls, you can always double, triple, quadruple this recipe for as many dough balls as you need. I'm going to add all of my water into the bowl. This is 228 grams. The water temperature here now is going to be based on how you're planning to bake. Traditionally, Neapolitan pizza is never refrigerated. The dough is never refrigerated because over 300 years ago, where we've documented that this started, they didn't even have electricity. So how would they have a cooler or a refrigerator? So this dough would be made to hold ambiently. So to this water, if you're gonna be baking at home in a home oven and you're not gonna be able to exceed 550 degrees, add about 5 grams of honey. It's literally not a lot. If you go to your favorite fast food joint and they have those packets of honey that they give you for free, it's literally like one of those packets. Don't worry about using too much. The whole idea of adding honey is to get a little bit of color around the cornicione or the outside of this crust. To this, I'm gonna add 9 grams of sea salt. This is fine sea salt. And the reason why I like to use fine sea salt is because it came from water and it likes to go back into water. Also, it's traditional. This is exactly what they'd be using in Napoli. My salt, however, is from Sicily. This is from the West Coast, an area called Trapani. It's my favorite source of sea salt, but use the best that you can find. I'm gonna add all the salt into the water, and then just with my hands, I'm gonna kind of just stir this around to dissolve the salt. Now, you might be asking about this little bit of yeast that I have right now. The yeast is gonna be one of those that traditionally fresh yeast would be used. Now, a lot of you throughout the United States know that sometimes it's very difficult to find fresh yeast. So I'm going to show you the method using dry yeast. With dry yeast, I'm using the variety called instant. This is instant dry yeast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to this for a minute and I'm going to take about half of this flour that's in here. I'm going to put half of the flour in this bowl, right on top of the salt and the water. And it doesn't have to be exact. Just kind of use your eye and your best judgment. I'm gonna put the bowl onto my mixer. This dough is at about 65% hydration, meaning that it's got about 65% water compared to the total amount of flour, which by the way is 350 grams. To this, I'm gonna use my dough hook. Dough hook, why? Because it's a hook. I'm gonna put this on the machine, raise up the bowl, and I'm gonna start this on the stir speed, stir. All I'm looking to do now is kind of create like a batter. That batter is gonna create gluten and it's gonna separate the yeast from the salt. In here, create that paste. We're creating a barrier of gluten, flour and water mixing into that paste, which I kind of have right now. I'm gonna take the yeast, I'm gonna put this inside of the bowl. And really all I'm doing is just waiting for that buildup, that kind of creaminess to begin coming together. so that once this starts to mix in, at 65% hydration, this is plenty of water. I can see that this is spinning around and all of that yeast has now kind of dipped down into the batter, which is the perfect time for me to go ahead and slowly add the rest of this flour. Now, as this starts to mix around, depending on the size of your mixer bowl, this is an 8-quart model, so my bowl is very big. I'm looking at mine here, and mine is definitely starting to form a batter, and this is gonna be the perfect time to add the rest of the flour. I like to go in additions. You saw I added half of the flour up front with the water. I let it kind of start mixing. I added the yeast into it. I let it kind of start mixing. And then once that kind of paste and everything started to bind up, I added half the remaining flour, let it keep mixing for a little bit, and then finally I added the last bit. This is gonna ensure that I've got all of my ingredients in there properly. If you take a page from our friend Bob Ross, Bob used to start with a blank canvas and slowly he'd start building the colors on the canvas. He'd put the blue background, the next thing he's got the waves and maybe a bird and a tree. And by the time he was all done, he had like National Geographic. Same thing here. If we build our dough slowly and let it start coming together on its own terms, you're gonna get a better mixed dough that's gonna perform better later on when you're all done. The dough has started to come together and I can see that the dough is spinning around the bowl attached to the hook. This is the time, I'm on the first speed, I'm still on the stirring speed. This is the time I'm gonna bring it up to number 2. And bringing it up to number 2 is gonna let this dough kind of start mixing a little bit quicker. Now in Neapolitan pizza, nothing is about speed. And if any of you have been to Napoli, Italy, you'll know that they don't do anything fast except drive. So in this case, the idea of working slowly is gonna help you because it's letting the dough come together on its own terms. It's also allowing this dough to come together without overheating and overworking the gluten. Because if your plan is to try to make this pizza within the next 4 to 6 hours, the less you work the gluten, the better it's gonna be for you down the line. Looking at this right now, I'm gonna stop the machine. I'm gonna pull the head down because I want you to see where we're at. You can see that gluten has formed to the point where I can pull on this. It's elastic, but it's kind of falling apart. In baking, we do something called a Windowpane test. And if we grab the dough like this, it should be able to stretch in a solid sheet to the point where you can kind of see through it. And if you take your finger, you could tap on it like the head of a drum. As you can see from this dough, it's come together, but if I pull on it, it literally just tears in half, which means that this hasn't mixed enough. So right now, we've been on second speed for maybe about 2 minutes total. It hasn't even been that long. The total mix time on this dough is probably gonna be about 6 to 8 minutes. We're right now turning the corner at about 7 total minutes on the second speed. So on speed number 2 on the KitchenAid. I'm gonna stop this, I'm gonna pull this down, and we're gonna check the development of the dough together. This is gonna be a critical step. And at home, this is one of those things that a home baker can take their baking to another level just by understanding when a dough is fully developed so that they don't overwork the dough and create a whole nother set of issues. So right now, first thing I'm gonna look at is I'm pulling on this and I can see how simple it is to get off. The other thing that I'm noticing is that this dough is actually not very sticky. So don't be afraid, trust the formula. If I give you a formula on this channel, just trust the formula because all these doughs, if you feel that they're sticky, sometimes, you know, we take that page from our grandmother, our mother, where they used to say, oh, well, just add a little bit more flour if it's sticky. Well, adding more flour actually changes the dough recipe. So all this dough really needs is some time. So if you feel that the dough is really sticky, stop mixing, cover the dough with some plastic wrap, let it rest for about 15 minutes, and then come back and do the same test. And you'll be amazed that all of a sudden that dough doesn't feel sticky and it's very extensible. You're able to stretch it without breaking. And when we do this Windowpane test, if I take the dough like this, you can see that I'm able to kind of stretch this. It's kind of breaking a little bit. Can you see how it's starting to tear? I get it to this point where I can start pulling it, but look at what's happening. This is a perfect example of a dough that now needs to rest. We would rest this dough anyway, even if you were at the point of development. Get yourself a wet tea towel, soak it completely wet wring it out, and then you could lay that right on top of the dough and let it rest for up to 2 hours. This step is called bulk fermentation, and it's part of the Neapolitan pizza making process. So it's been about 15 minutes. I've got this damp cloth on top. Very important, don't use something that's got a lot of those little stringy things on the end, right? You don't want all those fuzzies and all that stuff on top of your dough. This dough hasn't had a lot of work to it. This is the whole point. This dough is going to be very smooth, soft, and extensible because we didn't overwork it. Because this is on wood, I'm going to just kind of scrape this off the table. And then let's do that window pane test again. Is this amazing or what? Look at how beautiful this dough is. And the great thing about this is that now this is how, look at how much I'm able to stretch this and pull on this dough. So now the last step here, let's put this back into a nice ball. I'm gonna roll it just on top of itself a few times. You can see that it's not very sticky at all, right? My hands are nice and clean. And all I'm doing is kind of folding it on top of itself and pulling back until we make this really nice, smooth skin. That's it. This is all it is to make dough. Take a plastic scraper or whatever, kind of split it down the middle. If you wanna use your digital scale, go ahead, do that, it's all good. Take yourself about 2 equal portions, which this doesn't look equal to me. Kind of like this. That's better. And then when I make a dough ball, literally just take the dough, fold it on top of itself, turn it, fold it on top of itself. Do this a few times from the bottom. The idea is that the outside part is getting stretched and we're making this nice tight skin. That nice tight skin is going to take all the gas that's created from the yeast, the carbon dioxide and the ethyl alcohol. That's what gives your dough that beautiful bready flavor. And that nice tight skin is going to lock those gases in here. We call those gases the fermentation gases. Like this, I'm going to take this, take the bottom if you want to pinch it closed, and there's a beautiful dough ball. Same thing, real fast in real time. We take this, kind of fold it on top of itself from the bottom until the outside is nice and tight. Pinch the bottom closed, and we made a dough ball. There you go. What's next? We need a container with a lid that locks really nice and tight. Take the container you're gonna put it in, put just a little bit of oil in the bottom, and kind of smear it all around. That little bit of a smear is gonna be able to keep the dough from sticking to the bottom. So when it's time to make pizzas, you're gonna take that container, flip it upside down into your flour, and the dough ball will release really nice and easy. Now this extra oil on your hand, don't wipe it off. Take this oil and just kind of rub it on the outside of the dough. Look at how beautiful and nice and shiny this is. From here, 1 dough ball for each container, put a nice lid on it, snap it nice and tight, and then this is either gonna go in a nice spot in your kitchen. If you're planning on using this today, about 4 to 6 hours it'll take to double in size, but as soon as you see it double in size, you're ready to make pizzas. Or if you really want a bonus round on this, take this, put it in the refrigerator for 24 hours. That fermentation gas that's created during this cold ferment, we would call it in the refrigerator, is gonna develop these beautiful flavors. Right now, Neapolitan pizza is kind of considered that one dough that it's kind of like Wonder Bread. There's really not a lot to it. Doesn't have a lot of bready flavor to it. It's always criticized because of that. However, if you use a flour that's strong enough, a 00 flour you find that's geared for Neapolitan pizza will give you enough strength to go at least 24 hours in the refrigerator, and those flavors will build up slowly over 24 hours so that when you do take this out and you're ready to use it, you're gonna have this beautiful flavored crust. This is gonna go away. The next part you're gonna see in this series is me taking this out and we're gonna bake and make some pizzas together.